Welcome to the Nagrik podcast with Hari. I think आपने बारामूला में एक इन्फेंट्री ब्रिगेड को कमांड किया है, इन्फेंट्री डिवीजन को कमांड किया है अपने बारामूला में. सो ऑल्सो टेल अस कि उस एरिया या उस डोमेन या उस सेक्टर में क्या टैक्टिकल और स्ट्रेटेजिक चैलेंजेस आते हैं, यू नो, फॉर आवर सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस. एंड ऑल्सो गिव योर पर्सपेक्टिव कि लेट्स से पोस्ट एब्रिगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 जो पिछले 5 साल में जो नॉर्मलसी इंड्यूस हो रही थी, जो आई थिंक इकोनॉमिक इंटीग्रेशन हो रहा था उस एरिया का, ऑफ कोर्स दैट हैज़ बीन टारगेटेड. वन फैक्टर जो एक चेंज हुआ है वो ये है कि 2024 में वहाँ पे एक यूटी इलेक्शंस हुए हैं, एक लोकल गवर्नमेंट इज़ इन पावर नाउ. How do you view all of that? You know, the involvement of the locals, the civilians, the local UT government. Like, give us your perspective on that.
तो जैसे you heard of the LOC, line of control, तो एक line of control है. अब line of control की दोनों तरफ, जैसे उधर पाकिस्तान की फौज है और यहाँ हमारी फौज है. It's eyeball to eyeball. So it is there are places जहाँ लोग 25-30 मीटर के दूरी पे हैं.
Oh,
Their
that
troops
close.
are fully armed. But over a period of time, local deterrence sets in. You know, he knows if he does something, we'll do something. They are cat and mouse games. वो कुछ करता है, हम कुछ करते हैं, तो वो एक अलग कहानी है. That is what they call maintaining a defensive posture along the line of control. उसके साथ क्योंकि ये इन्फिल्ट्रेट करते हैं, अब उस इन्फिल्ट्रेशन को रोकने के लिए एक हमने फेंस लगाई है और फेंस को टेक्नोलॉजी से लैस किया है. So things like HHTRs, HHTIs, ISR platforms, so you keep them under surveillance. Those groups, they're constantly under surveillance and fire. You try to neutralize them. And then along the infiltration avenues, जैसे LC से right till the depth, जैसे ये इलाके हैं जहाँ ये हुआ है, पहलगाम, कुपवाड़ा, इन सब जगहों में, there are what are called infiltration avenues. So they come through some routes, they keep changing them, forest के बीच में, इसके बीच में, and they come in the depth what are called reception areas. तो जो लोग OGWs होते हैं, overground workers, उनसे जो सहानुभूति रखते हैं, वो इनको लाते हैं, फिर किसी ढोक में डाल दिया, किसी हट में डाल दिया, and they, you know, it takes 2 to 3 months for these terrorists to mature. Right. And then they get into action. And then ultimately they get eliminated. So their life may be 6 months or less. एक आध कुछ ज़्यादा हो जाते हैं. So this it's a whole ecosystem. But अब वहाँ से इनको पनाह कौन दे रहा है? पाक आर्मी. उनके ट्रेनिंग कैंप्स हैं, मदरसे हैं, ट्रेन करते हैं, डॉक्ट्रिनेट करते हैं, फिर लॉन्च पैड्स में लाते हैं, फिर उनको निकालने में पूरी मदद करते हैं. So it's a whole professional army. Right. Which is pushing terrorists into you. Imagine this. Right. That is why we say it is proxy war. वो हम पे लड़ाई कर रहा है through this
informal terrorist
work. इस तरह से ये चलता है. आप देखिए in that whole thing, you know, infiltration, you have to intercept them. It depends on your information. आपको पता लगेगा, एक ग्रुप होगा, you will have forces pre-positioned, some QRTs will move, encounters होंगे. Encounters में problems ये हैं, भाई ये जाके civilian areas में छुप जाते हैं. We are conscious of collaterals, so you have to exercise restraint in that manner. So it's a very complex task. But overall आप देखिए क्या हुआ. I think Indian Army has been very wise. हमने बड़ा विवेक का इस्तेमाल किया. किस सिलसिले में? We have said we will bring the violence levels down. Right. जो ये terrorists की जो life है इसको हम कम करेंगे, you know. But we will bring violence level down. But the balm has to be political. जो इसकी ultimate solution है has to be electoral. Right. That and what we did after 2014, इनके जो OGW network था, financial links, इसको हमने बुरी तरह से इसको खत्म किया है. So those financial links died, and therefore the numbers went down. Infiltration
after the
levels,
2016.
Yes, after that. But see, that doesn't rule out a periodic incident. फिर कोशिश करेंगे, फिर कुछ निकलेंगे. But the numbers have definitely gone down. And this is actually what worries them. जब normalcy आती है, और देखिए, look at how fair the electoral process was, क्योंकि उसके फलस्वरूप it was a non-BJP government. Right. So how fair can it get? Right. So this is the difference. The army does not get into politics. It creates conditions for politics to flow. वहाँ तो उल्टा है. जो पॉलिटिक्स का फ्लो है उसी को
उसी
आप
को रोक रहा है मिलिट्री.
so who are they to preach anything to us? Of course there are challenges. Those challenges जो differences हैं, they will be given a political solution through governments. That is the whole system is like this. So I personally feel that Article 370 abrogation and all helped in getting violence levels down. In पहले एक पूरा वो था, when the pre-Article 370, there were a whole lot of the political process itself was, many of them were tilted towards these the sympathizers within the government. अब वो सब neutralize हुए हैं. कुछ genuine grievances भी हैं. Those genuine grievances have to be met. So it is a complicated process. और ये अटैक का मकसद ही यही था कि भाई बिकॉज इट वॉज सक्सीडिंग, अगर वो सफल ना हो रहा होता शायद ना होता. बिकॉज इट वॉज सक्सीडिंग दिस हैव टू हैपन. सो एज आई से बात कहूँ, इन हैंडलिंग इंसर्जेंसीज in the global context, I think India and its army has been the wisest. We have never used mindless violence. हमने कभी attack hectors का इस्तेमाल नहीं किया, हमने कभी ये सब नहीं किया. We have fought the battle long and hard so that collaterals are not caused, violence levels are low. ये बड़ी एक cultural शक्ति चाहिए इसके लिए, professional. I personally am proud of the Indian Army in that sense. It has been the violence has been surgical, calibrated, focused. ये नहीं कि सबको उड़ा दो, ये इस टाइप का नहीं. Therefore, it has been easier to apply politics. And that is the best way. What other solution are there to insurgency? This is the best solution. In fact, अगर आप restraint की बात करें, जो भी हमको restraint का पहाड़ा पढ़ाते हैं, वो अपना restraint देख लें. We have been very restrained. Right. And therefore, the moral argument becomes stronger and stronger.
I think again, I think a lot of young people today in India will feel कि we have been a little more restrained than required.
Yes, they have a point. They have a point, but I am telling you the great advantages of restraint.
Right.
What we have done. So we have not really alienated the people ever in that manner. Now this is the challenge of a professional army. The people may disagree with me. I think this. There is value in restraint.
Right.
It gives you even more power to hit when you should. That point has come.
When you have that strategic time to hit, that's the cumulative restraint from the past in a way helps you.
Accumulated strategic restraint empowers us even more.
Right.
To act now when we should.
Super.
But restraint doesn't mean to duck acting when you should.
Exactly.
It is nuanced.
Right.
जब ज़रूरत पड़े तो you have to hit.
But then
this is where statecraft comes in. This is where political wisdom will come. See, ultimately it has to be a political decision which will take into account geopolitics, geostrategics, and all that.
I think इस domain के बारे में बात नहीं होती, but would love your insights on that. जब इस type के events होते हैं, how does the conversation flow internally? Let's say if we talk from India's point of view, how does the government and the military or the army, वो interface कैसे होता है, and how do the conversations flow?
So as you would have seen what happened, I don't think that's any secret. So see, the military will have its plans to respond in these situations.
Okay.
So those plans would be presented, say, by the chiefs to the CDS. The CDS will take it to the Raksha Mantri. Raksha Mantri will take it to the CCS, where these things will be discussed.
Right.
There are also interaction with the opposition. Some interaction has already taken place.
With all parties.
Opposition will be taken into confidence. Perhaps a consensus will be built. But the ultimate call has to be that of the Prime Minister and the CCS, because they are in the know of current geostrategics, how diplomacy is playing out. So, Kutniti, Sainy Shakti, what is the right time to do anything, the political atmospherics, the Prime Minister ke conversations have with heads of state,
Right.
that will give him a sense. So ultimately it is a political call, and one more thing I'll say, though I'm advocating very much for this, the military in our country submits to political control. So if the politician says yes, you go ahead. If they don't, you don't. That's a good system. So many times in the past we have gone in, sometimes we haven't. And sometimes you have responded to the political directive, like Kargil, where the directive was clear that you will do it, but not cross the LOC. So there are all kinds of issues. They will be debated in great detail. Statecraft, this is a decision of statecraft. Statecraft is just not the military alone.
Right.
There are diplomatic inputs, geostrategic,
Right.
geopolitical, international environment. What is the diplomatic space saying? How much of, shall we say, the international community is on our side? Timing, सब कुछ देख के. Do the payoffs of acting exceed the costs of not acting? In सब चीजों का है. So it's not that every time you have to take a decision to go and product. Sometimes you wait, strategic patience, sometimes you stoop to conquer. There are all kinds of complicated issues. That is what statecraft is.
Very interesting.
And I think in our case, the politico-military interface is adequate.
Exactly.
71 is a good example when Sam Manekshaw told Indira Gandhi that no, 6 months.
We need to defer, right?
It's a consequence of all these issues, and people in the know, they are wise men, they will take these decisions.